Well, a very, very warm welcome to all of you. Mike Cavalli here on the Mediumship Show, and very special thank you for our viewers on the New You Network who currently are not able to hear or see us today through technical issues. But when they do, we welcome you. So, on today's show, we got a little bit of a fest going on here. So let me run through everything that's going on. We're going to very shortly be hearing from a guy called Don Allison. I had the pleasure of having a conversation with him in a podcast a few years ago now. And this is the story of, as he puts it, how I met a ghost at Gettysburg, where he was speaking to a soldier who lost his life in the Civil War at Gettysburg over 150 years ago. This is a very special story if you know the history and the background of Don Allison. So we're going to be listening to that little excerpt from the podcast that I did all those years ago. Of course, I'm going to do some proof of survival readings. I already have somebody coming through right now with me, so I'll probably get through a couple of those. So if you have any comments, any questions, please just fire away, put them in there, and let's see if we can get a little bit of a conversation going here with this. If you have any questions about the afterlife, parallel universes, spirit communication, psychic attacks, anything like this, let's see if we can answer them, put your mind at rest also. We're also going to be hearing from, I spoke to him just the other day actually, Laurence Brock. He had a near-death experience, and everyone's experience is unique and his is no different. He's going to be talking to us about the experience and how it changed his life. More details about that coming up also. And of course, I'm going to be channeling a message from the great above. It's actually what's called a channeled writing. So it's not like automatic writing, it's something a little bit different. You just fire away, keep writing exactly what's given. You can feel the tone of the voice that the person is speaking to you while you're writing it, while they're helping you to write this as well. And so when I read this channeled message out, I'll be doing it most likely in the style, the tone of the voice who this information comes through. Certainly the voice going through all the different frequencies is how it's going to come out to be. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So I don't know how long this show's going to be. Certainly it's going to be half hour. Maybe we might put it up to an hour, see how it goes. But before I do that, let's first of all pay the bills with this little bit infomercial.
Hi, I'm Marla Goldberg, energy healer, intuitive, co-producer of the Global Consciousness Summit and the Global Conscious Development Circle, a platform for motivation, inspiration, and education. I am also the founder and host of Guided Spirit Conversations podcast and best-selling author of My Effing Long Journey to Loving Myself, A Guide to a Shorter Path, and My Sacred Journal, which I wrote to support my effing long journey. My Effing Long Journey to Loving Myself, A Guide to a Shorter Path is part memoir, part self-help. The first part of the book is the story of my life in all its dysfunction and challenges and how I turned that life around after I started down my spiritual path. The second part of the book offers 14 of the most powerful tips, tools, and techniques that I used and I continue to use to help me process and release life's challenges, which we all have. My Sacred Journal is a support tool for my effing long journey to loving myself. I've added inspirational and motivational quotes to help support your journey. For more information about me, my services, or my products, please check me out at my website at www.marlagoldberg.com. And if you'd like to email me, my email address is marla@mghealer.com. You can find my podcast on voiceamerica.com, the Empowerment Channel, or you can watch it on my YouTube channel of the same name, Guided Spirit Conversations. Thank you for listening, and I send you love, blessings, and gratitude.
So, okay, so let's get on with the show now. First up, we're going to be hearing from Don Allison. So you've got to understand a little bit about Don Allison, and so I'm just going to read you a little bit about him. He says, "My mind was spinning at this point. Here I was, someone who grew up not believing in ghosts, a veteran journalist, used to questioning everything, apparently having a conversation with a captain who fought at Gettysburg more than 150 years ago. Was it really possible? Was this some gigantic, wildly ingenious, incredible hoax? Or was this conversation somehow real? And what was it that brought me, a once dyed-in-the-wool paranormal doubter, to this haunted bridge in search of ghosts?" That's the long and the short of it, of Don Allison. As I said, if you do a Google search, and you'll find his book, I Met a Ghost in Gettysburg, and you'll find out a hell of a lot more about him. But this really, I found this quite fascinating because of the clarity of which he had the conversation. So let's go and hear this short clip from a much longer podcast that I did with him a few years ago.
But in particular, we had a spirit box, and that's B7.
Yeah.
And we spent, this was a 2-hour investigation. We were there 2 hours, and we had a few little hits on the spirit box. Nothing that impressed me at all.
Yeah.
Both my grandson and the investigators said they saw spirit, or rather, shadow figures. I did not see them, but I believe they did based on their, reaction. So we're ready to leave almost. We were at Sachs Bridge, which, as I found out that night, was actually just the center of a vast field hospital.
Right.
The very worst wounded of the Confederates prisoners and their own men were left behind there after the battle. So we're on the bridge, and we start getting some hits. Investigators asking things like, "Is anyone here with us?" "Yes." "How many of you are there?" We got like a 7, 8, 9. And so this is kind of getting my attention. What year is it? 1863. I thought, okay. And things were kind of dying out. She went back to the car a little ways away to warm it up. It was getting quite cold. We were ready to leave. And I'm thinking, what would a Civil War soldier, what would maybe engage them? So I said, "Do you like jokes?" Got a very clear yes, sir.
Wow. Yeah.
So I said, "Well, do you like music?" And like almost an insulted inflection, "Of course." And my grandson, bless his soul, he says, "Can you play for us?" And we get a clear absolutely. And we proceeded to get guitar and what sounded like mandolin coming in from time to time.
Wow.
This went on for like 10 minutes. The investigator came back, and her jaw drops as she caught the tail end of the conversation and the music. Now I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this has got to be a hoax. How are they doing it? How are they pulling this off? No way is this really happening. But after the music played a while, we talked some more, and we were getting responses. We're asking, like, what's your name? We got a 3-syllable name. We couldn't quite understand it. There was a clear on in the middle, like on, and we tried many times, and it was almost like you could hear a strain in the voice, but we couldn't make it out. We asked, well, where are you from? Couldn't quite make it out. So I'm rattling off states. We get no answer, and when I said Ohio, we got, a clear yes. And the K2 meters that my grandson and I had, which had barely blipped all night, both went to the top of the scale, stayed there for several seconds, and came back down. I said, well, we're from Ohio. And we asked, like, can you tell one of our names? And it, Connor, my grandson. And, we asked, like, what unit are you in? How old are you? We got a 20, but we're not sure if that was the age or the unit at that time. And then a very clear captain.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, this is fake. When I got home, I was trying to find out how this was faked. And the more I researched it, the more I found out, no, it was not faked. And what really blew my mind and what really made me want to write a book about the paranormal is when I checked the historical record, there were 7 Ohio captains who were killed or mortally wounded at Gettysburg. One of them, his name was Mahlon Briggs, the 3 syllables, the on in the middle. He was mortally wounded day 1, died on day 3 of the battle. He may well have died at Sachs Bridge. He would have been a prisoner of the Confederates.
So that was the story of Don Allison meeting a ghost at Sachs Bridge. So talking of ghosts, perhaps ghost isn't quite the correct word, but I do have a spirit with me here right now, and perhaps this is for you, but this person here is a rather large person in the sense he's got a very, very big belly. This is a male figure, and he comes to me wearing a short sleeve shirt, and it's almost like a Hawaiian shirt. It's a reddish shirt anyway, and this seems to be his favourite shirt. A big belly, you know, it really hangs over. He shows me himself having a beard and then not a beard, so I think he would have a beard and then shave it off and decide he'd like the beard again. So he steps in right now. As he passes, he gives me the feeling that he passed with a massive heart attack. He just fell over, bang, that was it. It was over. And this was, thank you, as he says, this was due to poor diet, absolutely poor diet. You know, diet, alcohol, this type of thing. Wasn't an alcoholic by any stretch of the imagination, but liked a beer. He liked a pint of beer, or a litre of beer, whatever it is. So he steps in here. I think he was about 60 years of age when he passed, and he gives me the word Green. I don't know if this was his name, Mr. Green, or there was a green in his name, but he gives me the word Green, and hopefully that makes sense to you. That kind of thing always does kind of make sense when we do these kind of readings. It makes absolutely no sense to me, but it's very clear. It could be Mr. Green. I think it could actually be Mr. Green, and he gives me 57, so it's probably 57 when he passed. Something like that. Certainly not 1957, because the clothes he's showing me right now are very modern type of clothes. Where in the world is he? You know, look, he shows me a countryside, and it shows me some very French sounding names. This could be anywhere, but so I don't know the name and I can't pick it up, but maybe you'll know who this is. Maybe it is somebody for you when you pick this up. What else does he want to tell me? He wants to tell me about Caroline. He gives me the name Caroline also. So I feel, Caroline, if you're listening, this is for you. I don't feel there's a Caroline in spirit, but this one is most definitely for you. What else does he want to bring to the table here? Oh, that's that's not my saying at all, bring to the table. This is him saying he's got something he wants to bring to the table. So thank you. There's unfinished business going on in and around the family. Okay, look, this man passed only, I think, about 2 years ago. It isn't a long time, and there's unfinished business that needs to be finished right now. And so whoever's in charge of this family, it's got to be done. It is coming to an end right now. So all the deliberation and all the worry and all the tribunals and everything, it's coming to an end. And then he laughs, joking. He says, then I can rest in peace. He is joking. He had a great sense of humour, a dry sense of humour, actually. People thought he was grumpy, but he wasn't. He had a dry sense of humour and did enjoy a laugh, and he did enjoy socialising as well. So I think that's about it. That about wraps him up. As I say, it's definitely a heart condition how he passed. Bang, it just happened. There was such a massive strain on his heart that it couldn't cope anymore. He didn't look after his health. He didn't take notice of the doctors, but he said, that's me. I knew the consequences, and he's quite honest about it as well. So one last thing before he goes. Let's see if he's got... No, he's just gone. He said all he's had to say and he's gone. And I think this was quite like his character also. If he didn't want to say anything, he could quite happy just listen to other people rattle off conversation, and he might pop in and say whatever it is that he wants to say. Okay, so what have we got next now? Earlier in the week, I had this wonderful conversation with a gentleman called Laurence Brock. He had a near-death experience. Obviously, he survived it. And the outcome of this changed his life. And so many people have experienced, when they've had NDEs, near-death experiences, so many of them have these life-changing experiences. Some of them quite often find their true vocation, and I think this is the case with Laurence here, as he's about to explain. Others change their path. Others find peace. Others no longer live in fear. But normally when somebody comes back from an NDE, there is a purpose, and it's not simply to carry on life that got you in the position of an NDE in the first place. Usually they come back with a message or something that they need to do. So look, let's listen to this wonderful conversation that I had with Laurence Brock. So Laurence, I know you've answered this question 1,000 times before, but how did it begin? How did you come to have your NDE?
Yes, I have answered it many times, and I always kind of enjoy doing that because at the time it did not make sense to me, and as I talk about it, it becomes clearer inside of me, right, which is a good thing. So I was in my early 20s, which I'm 66 now, so it was quite a while ago, but I had been living in Longmont, Colorado in the United States, and I came back east to Westchester, New York to visit my parents. So about a 2,000-mile drive, and I drove with a friend who also grew up in the, hometown friend of mine that we both lived in Colorado.
Right.
And that night we went to a park. And I was drinking and doing other things that, and I didn't really feel. We took separate cars to the party, and I didn't really feel that high. I mean, now I don't do any of that stuff, and it was a normal part of my life, actually. And but I left the car there partially because the young lady having the party, I was interested, and I could see her the next day without all the people there. When I was almost back to my parents' house, I realized my sister needed the car the next morning for work. So I told my friend, "You got to drive me back." He protested. I explained I was really overacting, that I couldn't drive, and in order to go back and see the young lady. But I also had taken another drug in the meantime that didn't kick in, that I forgot about. So I remember a little bit leaving the party, and I don't remember anything after that until I was out of my body in the white light, seeing my body leaning against a tree. A police officer was leaning over me. And, at the time, it was a very kinesthetic experience where it felt so nice. Like everything was okay, even though I saw my body damaged and the car squished beyond what you think someone would survive. Everything seemed okay. It did feel, and I used to describe it as just everything was okay, and that's what it was like, but really everything was okay. Just imagine if you had no worries whatsoever. And so there was a sense of peace and warmth and loving, and just everything seemed to make sense.
Right.
And then I didn't see this, but I had this sense behind me that there were two beings, or again, I'm always, so a lot of it, the way I describe it is afterwards I started meeting a lot of people that had near-death experiences that were spiritual teachers. And when I heard them talk about certain things, it was like, oh, when I felt what they were talking about, I realized that's what I had experienced. So looking back, there was one, it just felt like this omnipotent being, which I call God. Is it really God? I don't know. That was, it was just this giant, all-pervasive energy, and then a smaller being back there that when someone started to talk to me about Christ, I said, that's, it just felt that way, that loving and caring. And then the Christ being, or, I hate to say it's Jesus Christ, because who could, it was putting the words on after the experience. The experience was this incredible love and caring and knowing like everything was good. And that voice said, you have to go back. Your Father wants you to stay.
Right.
And so I went back in my body, just like, oh yeah, of course, that's what you do. And then I woke up 3 days later in the hospital.
Wow. And you fell asleep at the wheel, so you didn't feel any impact.
I don't remember that part at all.
Right. Okay. And the doctors, I guess they were quite amazed to find that you could come back from this.
It was a long time ago, and in this country, definitely patients' rights were pretty limited, and they didn't really say that much. And they were of the mind back then, it's even better for your family not to know.
Right.
I do a couple of things I do remember, and I can still see the image of the neurologist smiling and saying, "You're lucky, like lucky that you made it." Right. And the nurse said, one of the nurses said something similar to that, basically that it was touch and go for a while.
Wow.
And I actually went back and checked with my father not that long ago, and he said he didn't know anything, but he remembered when they let him see me, and like the skin was pulled back and he could see inside my head.
Oh, blimey. So that was a serious NDE.
Yes, serious physical. I know sometimes people say, oh, I want to have an NDE. I would not wish that on anyone, because there's ways to experience that spiritual part without the physical damage and that parts.
Yeah, well, while you was over there, you saw the Christ energy. Let's put it that way. Is probably the best way.
Yes, the white light of the Christ.
And you could feel this love. Was you aware of? Was it just like light, or was there structures that you saw? Because everyone has their own experience.
Different. It was just light. It was just white light that was, and it wasn't even really that bright. It was kind of soft.
Right.
Light. Again, it just the feeling. I'm a very kinesthetic person. Also, I often think about that. Like, why does someone have different experiences there? And I know, to me, I'm a kinesthetic person, so I'm always I've learned a lot how to use my vision and my intellect, but I feel my way through things, and so it was in my language. That feeling part is the way I relate to things.
Right. Okay. And but you did meet somebody who you could identify that we would say is of the Muslim faith here on the Earth plane.
Yes, I did. After my near-death experience, I met this Sufi sheikh who is a Mevlevi dervish who follows the teachings of Jalaluddin Rumi. And I mean, from the beginning, he was always telling me he wasn't my teacher.
Right.
And like a lot of things he said to me, when I'd ask him, he would dismiss my questions. And at some point he did say, "We'll find you a teacher." And I tried to say, "Who's we?" And he didn't answer me. So, but I learned a lot from him. He started talking to me about a lot of different things, Christian beliefs, Islamic beliefs. And it really, he was a very magical person who could do magical things. And it just taught me a lot. And he would always say, "Yeah, you're a sensitive." And he was a character. He was very funny, but also very tough, doesn't give you any wiggle room basically for being accountable for what goes on. But so it was a very tough training with him, but very incredibly wise and just learning that all knowing is in a lot of ways not knowing in your mind. You know, it's just knowing this thing that sometimes you don't really even know how to say what it is.
Right. Yeah.
So he would always say to me, you don't need to know that, which seemed to go right in line with my near-death experience of not really knowing how to describe it.
Yep.
And also learning, when I work with people, it leaves it open for working in the way that works best for them.
Right.
So if I was, you know, I know this and you have to work this way. No, it's like, so I work with people of all different faiths, religions, beliefs. A lot of people don't even have spiritual beliefs, and I can still do that. So.
Right. And so before we get onto your work,
Okay.
did you, were you aware of your psychic abilities before? Because I heard in an interview you met your deceased grandfather at the cinema. Was that before or after the NDE?
That was before.
Right.
So yes, and you know, I guess in a certain way, I mean, I had certain experiences, and I always describe it as naive because I didn't realize they were kind of unique. But that was one thing, and I just let it go. It was kind of funny. If you saw it, I was in the movies in New York City and my grandfather was a unique-looking guy, so definitely could not be someone who looked like him. He was very big. He always wore a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. And nowadays it might, you know, that might happen, but back in those days, not. And I even walked right by him to make sure, because you know, from the back it looked like him, and I walked right by him. And then I was with my brother. I said, "Did you see Pop there in the front row?" He just said no, and I just let it go.
Right.
You know, I was always kind of intuitive, but I was definitely, in one way, my NDE, the biggest thing that happened, it was kind of a kick in the butt to take this seriously and get on the spiritual path, because I was definitely heading in a different direction.
So, okay, so the full interview can be seen a little later on. I'll let everyone know the link on my Facebook live page, Medium Mike Cavalli, because our conversation went on for about another 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that, and we got into much more about the healing work that he does. But anyway, before we move on, I've got somebody else here in the spirit world with me. This is a lady who's in the spirit world, and this is a very strange feeling that she gives me, because I feel that she drowned, or in the sense that maybe she had water on the lungs and it starts to fill up, but there's also a big pain here in my stomach, so perhaps this is some pre-condition that she had, but certainly I've been shown the water symbols and everything, so she definitely, from what I can see, had a drowning effect before she passed. It was pretty quick. This is a very, very slim lady that I got here, and the name that's associated with her seems to be Maureen, something like this. And again, I think she was around about, she's showing me around about the age of 70 to 73, 74 years of age, something like this. This was a hard worker. This was somebody that worked all their life, and this lady was also somebody that was a very clean lady. I mean, you could walk into her place and I can smell it now, the bleach. You could smell the bleach, where she would have everything spick and span. You could eat off the floor with this lady. She comes through here because I feel it's her anniversary right now, and she wants to connect. I feel it's with a niece that she wants to connect with. So this would be somebody, obviously, is still alive on the earth plane, that she wants to make this connection with. Why does she want to make this connection with her? Oh, okay. Right, you see, this isn't my thing. Thank you. This is to do, she wants to give a message, then I'll go back to more evidence that your prayers are being answered, and this woman is with you all the time. You probably feel her at night when you're rested and your mind is still. Thank you. Yes, and you feel her at the end of the bed. So she definitely comes to you. You're not going crazy, and you visit her in sleep state. It seems that there's a soul connection with you and your auntie. She is an auntie. She may not be a blood auntie, but it is that auntie feeling. So she steps forward here. I think I've got somebody else coming forward here at the moment. I just want her to finish off just one last bit before she goes. She was somebody that didn't really say much either, just like the previous reading that I gave. She is okay. All right. Well, she also brings in a dog. This isn't her dog. She didn't like pets around, to be quite honest. She wouldn't hurt them, but she quite likes them now. So this is a family pet. This is a small, I was just given collier, so if that's the name of a dog or the dog's name, I'm not really up to breeds of dogs, but that's what she gives me, and this dog is here with you. So I think this is designed to give you a bit more evidence that who we've got here is with us. And my stomach does begin to play now, and I start to feel a little bit dizzy. So this woman had quite a few symptoms going on before she passed, but fundamentally I feel there was something around here. It feels like a drowning, so it could be water on the lungs. So she steps forward, but there is a man, before we move on and do this channel, there is a man that's stepping forward here that smoked a cigar, and it was a big one of those big cigars that he smoked. He steps forward. He was a professional man that I do have here. He was somebody that had no time for fools. He says, thank you very much. So he didn't suffer fools gladly. What does he look like? Okay. Well, he shows me with quite thick-rimmed glasses. Hair goes back. He isn't completely bald, but he's quite thin. I feel this man was some kind of accountant or something like this. Certainly a big office job this man had, and he was high up. Maybe he had his own, yes, thank you, had his own business, his own enterprise. Before he passed. He worked many years into retirement because he enjoyed the work that he did. Okay, let's see what else that he wants to say to me. If he could step forward just a little bit more, because he was drifting away there a little bit. Okay, this man liked the fine things in life. So let me describe him. He wore suits quite a lot, and dark coloured suits. Again, he had a little bit of a belly with him, and he liked to wear shirts. You wouldn't see this man in t-shirt and jeans at all. Thank you. He liked to play golf as well. You would see him on the golf course quite often. Okay, so, and he had a lot of money. This man was quite well to do. So what does he want to say, and who is the message for? Okay. Okay, it's a bit confusing here because it seems like he wants to talk about a brother, but this is somebody that seems to be like 40 years younger than him. It seems to be quite a young man. So I don't know what he means by brother, but I'll just give what I've got. Maybe you'd understand that. And this is to do with this person's life path also, because he is thinking of going into the same business, and he needs... Thank you. He needs to pay more attention to what he's doing in order to succeed. How did this man pass? Let's see if he can tell us how he passed. Okay, I'm told this was a blood condition. A blood condition was the prime cause, but there was something to do with the liver as well with this person. Diet was awful. Seemed to be having a lot of people with diet problems coming through today, but he certainly had a diet problem. You know, considering this man had a lot of money, he didn't really. Okay, I've just been corrected. He did eat well. It was just too much rich food. That was the problem with him, and again, the body was overloaded. It was a quick passing, and he was surprised. He says that there weren't so many people at his funeral, because he thought there would have been a lot more. Anyway, he also says that he didn't believe in the afterlife. He wants you to know that he didn't believe in any of this, but surprise, surprise, here he is. So that is the message that he leaves with us.
Welcome to the magical world of medium Mike Cavalli, the book Proof of Survival. An evidential guide to mediumship is now available at the usual outlets including Amazon and Lulu. Learn the techniques of mediumship that can connect you with a loved one in spirit. Mike is available to teach you these techniques online, privately, or in a group. One-to-one readings and/or distant healing is available by appointment. Message Mike on Facebook at Medium Mike Cavalli.
So there we are, a little bit of self-promotion. So hello, Karen, how are you? I must tell you, Karen is a wonderful healer, does fantastic meditations. So while she's there, I'll give you a quick promotion, Karen. So please Google Karen Copperweight and take a look at the wonderful work that she does. Thank you for joining us, Karen. So okay, look, I want to do this bit of channel reading that I done earlier in the week. So if you've just connected with us, this is called channeled writing, and the person, I hear the tone of their voice coming through, I type it out on the computer, and they also help me with this, as it's kind of like or automatic writing, I guess, in a kind of way, but a little bit more. So I just want to say also hello to Tosha McSweeney. Hello, thank you for joining us, and if this is your first time, you are very much welcome. So anyway, look, so what's going to happen is I'm going to read this out, and I will actually be doing it in the tone of how it came as well, since the person, he, she, or it, whatever it is guiding me. And again, if this is the first time, I do not have a clue who this is. Okay, so this is a channeled message about mental slavery. So here we go. So this is welcome everyone, and I'd like to talk to you today about the freedom of mind, and to be more precise, how you can set your mind free from the chaos and the programming that is passed on to you. Now, when I talk of programming, I do not refer to the programming of a nefarious measure, but rather through the act of love. This programming has been handed down to you from generation after generation, and some information has remained with you, and the very least has been silent or dormant action waiting to be triggered by an event, which can be anything from emotional trauma or pain or extreme exuberance, or simply observing others' behaviour. Now, this channel, whose earthly name is Michael, will know too well about this subject, as we've been planting the seeds for him over many years to understand the concept for the work that he has chosen to do in the near future. But for now, he remains a channel. You see, understanding of freedom of mind, freedom of choice for the most of you is limited to what you observe, hear and read, and as you digest the information, it becomes your perception. And unfortunately, quite a few people on the earth plane will hold steady that thought pattern throughout their life and will not consider other options. To understand freedom of mind is to understand that for you to hold steady a thought for long periods of time without moving much in any direction, then you are a slave to your thoughts and a slave to your perception. Sadly, we see this in your political views far too often. One soul will put his name to a political party for life and will defend that party by any means necessary. He or she will totally disregard the other views from other parties. This is not critical thinking, it is enslavement of the mind. In fact, to have that freedom of mind, or in other words, to be completely sovereign, you must be prepared to suspend all of your current beliefs at any one time, and be prepared to shift your position from how you see the picture as it stands right now to how you feel the event will begin to unfold. The question of being right or wrong is mute. This is not our concern, as the question of right or wrong in this documentation is not of concern. In any case, critical thinkers accept all possibilities and understands that to be right is not sacrosanct, and to be wrong does not require chastisation of the self. Critical thinking is freedom of choice and freedom of the mind. When you are emotional frequency, you are totally free to change your perceptions at any time you choose, without fear of repercussions from your immediate circle of friends and family. You see, when you reach this point, you will understand that people think of you for your views, or anything else for that matter, is really of no concern to you. It is their choice to feel the way about you, and of course it is your choice how you wish to react to those outside forces. However, when you are truly ready to allow your birthright of free thinking to be initiated into the world, it is only then that you will be totally free. Now, please bear witness to these words, because your free mind does come with a price. The tariff for freely expressing yourself may result in losing some old friends, as their frequency simply does not match yours anymore. When you become your authentic self, it can be quite a shock to those who know you well, and you can often find them fearful of you and therefore begin to publicly vilify you. Our great sister Joan of Arc paid a heavy price for her free will and free choices. I say a heavy price only according to your history books. The reality is that there was no price to pay at all. We will talk more about Jean Remy in detail another time, and perhaps she will honour by channeling the message through Michael. However, for most of you, your free thinking does not have to end with such drama. And so we come to the final part of this short broadcast. We talk about the inevitable natural consequence of free thinking and living in your own power, the consequence of living your true authentic self. Be very clear that once you embark upon this idea, you will open yourself up to endless possibilities. The endless possibilities are divine intervention. It is universal law unfolding before your very eyes. Now, you may not intentionally be manifesting or intentionally using your intuition, but take heed, you will have opened up a portal to allow their flow of information into your life. If you choose not to stop this flow, then this information will just keep on flowing and flowing. If you choose to become aware of this, then this experience you will be enhanced and assist you becoming a master creator. Yes, you heard me correctly, a master creator. All of this simply because you made the choice to break the code of generations of programming. Can you see how your life is currently incomplete and not living to its full potential? Can you see that you are living a life through the memory, or rather the energetic eyes of your ancestors? So in fact, we could say that while you are choosing not to be a free thinker, you are actually choosing at some level of your life to live the life and walk in the footsteps of ancestors. They also had to make choices as you do. One could humbly suggest that the further you go back down the family line, in most circumstances, the self-awareness was simply not there due to some harsh conditions and being in survival mode. This, of course, is not true for all of you, as some of your ancestral chain of thought may help you, serve you to find the path of economic freedom. Or as a healer, you will have acquired the healing energy techniques and understanding of many powers before you, and therefore you will have inherited much of these powers. But it must be initiated. It has to begin with the willingness to surrender the possibility that everything you have held to believe to be true may not be so. You must suspend that possibility. To accept the possibility that you may have been wrong in certain circumstances, to accept the possibility that you may have been tricked into believing a reality that does not exist. This is the hardest program to break down. You must feel that you are not mentally and therefore emotionally enslaved and hold the position that is how life works. Everything is steady and everything is running smoothly, with life ups and downs, so let's not cause unnecessarily problems. It is exactly this perception that is mental enslavement, to the point that the slave will defend the slave master. In this case, it is the mind. You will have become a slave to the mind and will answer its very needs. Your mind does not like change. This is why many of you hold the same views in perpetuity. You are acknowledging the mind as the master. When you allow conscious thoughts to come forward, you are in the process of working with a higher self. The higher self is readily prepared to alter course, change perception, and do anything deemed necessary to keep your awareness in that high vibration. It is here in this vibration that you break the chains of being the servant of your own mental slavery. So, my brothers and sisters, are you ready to emancipate from your ancestry beliefs? Are you ready to emancipate yourself from mental slavery? When is the time for you to do this? This can be answered best by quoting our sister Joan of Arc in the records as saying, "Rather now than tomorrow, and tomorrow than the day after." This process is not without challenges, but I do assure you that until you free yourself from this mental slavery, you will never be able to experience fully your potential. You are a finite being in an infinite world with limited time. Your time as a caterpillar has expired. Your wings are ready. So there we are. So that was quite a bit of effort for me to have channeled that, but I think I got it down pretty accurately, how it came through. So look, I've done a couple of readings there. If I'm just going to see if I can do one more before I disappear. because we've about run out of time. But I do have somebody here with me. I'm not sure who it is yet. Again, had trouble breathing. I know that old scenario. We all have trouble breathing when we die. But this person had very laboured breathing, and they had to bring it really up from the depths of inside them. I feel this was a lady that I have with me here. I feel she was in her 80s, and yes, I feel the condition was largely due to smoking, as I find myself holding a cigarette like this. This person used to live for cigarette. That was the priority with this person. Their passing was also very, very simple and very quick, and it wasn't painful at all for them. They just simply fell asleep, and like the person before, bang, it was a massive heart attack that I feel they had. Okay, let's see. Okay, this lady, actually, I don't feel she's been in the spirit world too long now. I was given 2, so I don't know if this is 2 months, 2 years, 2 weeks, but there's a number 2 around this lady as well, and I want her to give me a name, if she can give me a name, or somebody else that she wants to connect with here in the spirit world. She's reserved back a little bit. She stepped back just a little bit. She also speaks with an accent, and this is why I can't get to her to hear clearly the words she wants to say. So there is some kind of accent that I am not familiar with this lady, and I don't think she spoke English too well, although she could speak English, but it wasn't very well at all. Okay, let's see what else she wants to say here. I mean, there was quite a few things wrong with her now. She's given me like head pains here, certainly pulsing here around the side. Okay, okay, let's see if there's a message for anybody here. Let's get the message. Okay, well, this is quite a departure from her normal messages, actually, because this lady would be someone that's really concerned about and now it's clear. She is concerned about the earth plane. She's concerned about grandchildren here who are going through a bit of a difficult time here. So there's 2 girls and 1 boy. This is 3 grandchildren, 2 girls and 1 boy. She's not so much concerned about the boy. She's concerned about 1 girl in particular. This is the eldest girl, I feel it is, that is really struggling with the current situation, and she wants to know that she will be sending healing, will be sending this healing energy to her. This girl is about 26 years of age, is what I'm picking up here with her. Okay, okay, I think she's just gone. I don't feel this lady comes through very often, actually. I think this might have been the first or second time that she's come through, because she really stayed back quite a little bit, and it felt like it was just a big effort for her to reach out there for me. So, okay, look, we have just about run out of time. Look, for next week, please try and get in a little bit early, all of you. Feel free to ask some questions. Feel free, if there's somebody you want to connect with in the spirit world, it's much easier to connect with somebody in the spirit world for a specific person. So, excuse me, oh blimey, she's still here. She's got this throat condition with her. I think that's the cigarettes that she was smoking. Boy, she could really pack them away. Okay, I'm asking her to step back now. So listen, this is Mike Cavalli for the Mediumship Show saying thank you for joining me. I'll be back next Saturday with another channeled message with other readings, getting early, ask who you want to connect with. Let's see if we can connect with someone. And any questions about the afterlife and the spirit world, please feel free to pop them in a text and we'll get them answered. So in the meantime, have a great Saturday. Have a great Sunday. Have a great week. Soon all this will pass. I'll leave you with this thought that we are entering the golden age now. No matter what you see going on around you at the moment, this will pass. We're entering in a new age. And if you work on the high vibration, I can assure you, you will have a life that you never ever thought of. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, Tosha. Thank you for joining us, and I'll be back next week. I think I'll be 8 o'clock next Saturday. I'm not sure, 7 or 8 o'clock. But in the meantime, be safe and have fun. Bye-bye for now.